The automatic doors slid open, but instead of the usual cologne-scented businessmen or diamond-draped executives, in walked a man who looked like he had wrestled with the wind and lost. His coat was shredded at the cuffs, held together more by stubbornness than stitching. Mud caked his boots so thick they left flakes behind like breadcrumbs. His beard was wild, not fashionably rugged, but survivalist. His hair was tied in a fraying cord, and his eyes, though shadowed, were bright with purpose. The dealership was a cathedral of glass and chrome, where everything gleamed and nothing was cheap. Every salesman wore a suit so sharp it could have sliced granite. They paused mid-conversation, mid-coffee sip, mid-handshake to stare at the intruder. He didn't glance at them. He stepped onto the polished white floor, his dirty boots squeaking with each step, a sound so offensive in such sanctity that one woman audibly winced. In the center of the hall stood 5 Mercedes-Benz Actros trucks, colossal, jet black, machines of power. They sat like panthers ready to pounce, towering over the mortal world. The ragged man planted himself in front of them with the silence of someone who belonged. His hands slid into his pockets. He nodded once, satisfied, and finally spoke. "I'll take 5 of them." Silence crackled like static. Then, laughter. From behind display counters, from leather chairs, even from the receptionist who tried to hide it behind a cough. It was not polite laughter. It was the kind that tastes like arrogance. One salesman, tall and slicked back like a magazine cover, walked forward with the confidence of someone who thought this would be his comedy moment of the week. "Sir," he said dramatically, "these are Mercedes Actros. Heavy-duty, commercial freight, not farm tractors." The man blinked slowly. "Never said they were." Another chimed in from behind, barely containing his grin. "Each one's 200 grand. Before custom options." 5, the man repeated. "Black, with full terrain kits." A few clapped sarcastically. Someone shouted, "Why not get 10 while you're at it?" The ragged man didn't respond. He shifted his stance, as if done talking. Then, without warning, he turned and walked toward the exit. One of the salesmen called after him mockingly, "Forgot your checkbook in the haystack." More laughter chased him like stones thrown at his back. The doors hissed shut behind him. Inside, they were still joking, reenacting his tone, betting on how far his home might be, under bridge or alley corner. They didn't see the security camera outside follow his movement with deliberate precision. They didn't see the unmarked SUV waiting by the curb. They didn't see the 2 men in black suits straighten like soldiers awaiting a superior. The ragged man didn't knock. He opened the door, slid into the back seat, and shut it calmly. The suited men in front said one word in unison. "Sir." The SUV pulled away without hesitation. 10 minutes later, the dealership phones buzzed simultaneously. Incoming wire transfer. $1,250,000. And just like that, laughter died. The buzzing of phones turned the once confident showroom into a hive of panic. Salesmen who had strutted minutes ago now huddled like schoolchildren awaiting punishment. The dealership manager, a stern man with a jaw like a bulldozer and a temper to match, burst out of his office, waving his ringing tablet in the air. "Who," he barked, "authorized a $1.2 million sale with no client details?" Nobody spoke. Nobody could. The air thickened with sudden realization. Money had arrived, but no paperwork existed. No name, no address, no signature. In the ledger of reality, they had just sold 5 luxury freight trucks to a ghost. One salesman, pale and trembling, finally muttered, It was the homeless guy." The room went still. A young intern whispered, "You mean, the ragged man?" The word hung there like a curse. The manager's face drained of color. He adjusted his tie as though it had suddenly become a noose. "You're telling me," he growled slowly, "that a millionaire, no, a multi-millionaire walked in here, and you all mocked him?" Silence answered. It was the receptionist who finally burst. He smelled like a dumpster. "What were we supposed to think?" "Think." The manager's voice rose to a thunder. "You think kings always wear crowns?" Immediately, orders flew like bullets. "Check the surveillance footage. Pull the camera logs. Somebody track that SUV." They rushed to the security room and loaded the recording. There he was, entering in slow motion, boots muddy, coat hanging like drapery. They watched him gaze at the trucks, watched them failing to hide their smirks. Then they reached the exit footage. The moment he stepped outside, something changed. They froze the frame. The ragged man walked toward the unmarked black SUV, but unlike before, his posture no longer appeared worn. It was commanding. The two men in suits waiting near the vehicle weren't bodyguards ignoring him. They were reporting to him. Rewind. Zoom in. Enhance. His face stayed oddly blurred, every angle shadowed, each frame slightly distorted as though the camera refused to show him. That's impossible, the tech whispered. The footage resolution is perfect, but his face keeps flickering. Check the plates, ordered the manager. They zoomed onto the SUV's license. Restricted. Government use only. A chill ran through the room. Did we just insult someone, high level? One salesman croaked. A woman gasped. What if he's intelligence? Or a general, or one of those billionaires who hates publicity? The manager snapped. Call Mercedes Corporate. Tell them to stall the truck releases until we get confirmation. But the phone rang first. An unfamiliar voice spoke. This is Mercedes Worldwide Logistics Division. The 5 Actros units have already been routed per instruction. Instruction from who? The manager demanded. Classified. But you'll be receiving no further inquiries. Your involvement is closed. Click. The line went dead. The dealership floor, once loud with ego, now echoed with dread. And for the first time in their careers, the men who sold luxury learned the cost of misjudging someone who didn't need luxury to prove power. 2 days later, the dealership thought it had finally escaped the embarrassment. They agreed, silently and unanimously, that no one would ever mention the ragged man again. They scrubbed the security footage from internal access. They avoided eye contact when passing one another. The laughter that once filled the showroom had been replaced with stiff politeness and clipped words. Then the world found out. It began with one notification. Then another. Then 30 at once. Phones in pockets vibrated like trapped bees. Someone turned on the giant TV mounted on the wall, usually reserved for promotional commercials. But this wasn't a commercial. It was live news. A convoy of 5 jet black Mercedes Actros trucks thundered across what looked like a desert region, dust trailing behind them like storm clouds. Mounted on the side of each vehicle, the gleaming silver logo of Mercedes. But below it, emblazoned across heavy tarpaulin covers, Global Relief Initiative, Emergency Supply Unit. The anchor's voice rang through the dealership. An anonymous benefactor has donated 5 custom Mercedes Actros trucks to transport urgent medical supplies and food across conflict-ridden zones. Local officials say, the donor refused public recognition and insisted all credit go to the international relief volunteers. The camera cut, and there he was. Clean-shaven, hair neatly pulled back, no ragged coat, no boots. Now in a crisp charcoal suit, speaking with calm authority to aid coordinators and military escorts. The same voice they had mocked. A reporter managed to ask him, live on camera, Sir, why choose these vehicles specifically? He rested a hand on the side of one truck, the same one they had laughed at him touching, and said simply, they're reliable. When people's lives are on the line, you don't gamble with cheap. The dealership went dead silent. One salesman, the one who had joked about bottle caps, slowly sank into a chair. Another covered his face with both hands. But the sting hadn't even arrived yet, because the reporter asked one more question. Why did you visit a dealership dressed so plainly before purchasing them? He paused, then looked directly at the camera. To test a theory, he said. To see who would respect a man before knowing his worth. No anger, no pride, just truth. Unfortunately, he added, most failed. The news anchor continued speaking, but no one in the dealership was listening anymore. They were too busy sinking into their own reflections. The manager wordlessly walked to his office and shut the door. One salesman whispered hoarsely, we laughed at a man saving lives. Another muttered, we didn't just miss a sale, we failed as human beings. Days later, people began visiting the dealership, not to buy trucks, but to mock them. Internet memes exploded. Someone photoshopped the salesman laughing at saints, heroes, firefighters. The dealership's online reviews were flooded. Be rich or be invisible. They sell trucks, but not respect. The ragged man, whoever he truly was, never came back. He didn't need to. His lesson had already been delivered. 5 trucks at a time,